Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Friday. Although we don't really get Fridays, do we?
Nope, we get Mondays. every day. Every day is a work day.
Every day is a work day. Because even like Mondays, it's like now we're reconciling everything that happened over the weekend.
Over the weekend, getting it going. Yeah.
Well, good morning, virtual land out there. This is the Morning Muffin Show. I'm Jennifer Cotis with Keller Williams. I'm a real estate agent in the city of Minneapolis. And this is
Gigi Tillis. I'm with Sunwest Mortgage, and I am a lender. So I work on mortgages, your finance piece of buying a home.
And she's my gal Friday. I love that. I miss that. Haven't seen that movie in a long time. We're gonna have to talk like I can't even do it like in the 1920s, 1930s.
I know. Fancy.
We're gonna talk about loans, see?
Yes. There you have it.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about upfront costs because this was brought to our attention. How, with inventory and competition and stuff like that, and the way interest rates are really low right now. So people, they want to start moving really fast. Mm-hmm. And I feel like in a normal market, in a normal setting, some of these conversations that we have are, they have like a timely manner, and they have a timeline, and they have a conversation, and there's an education. And that's what you and I always try to breach here with the show, is that education. So that way people can, they can watch some, they can learn some, they can get their questions answered. But now with this timeline that's more condensed, that people feel like they need to get into something now, and the sense of urgency. And maybe it's just me, but I call it the Amazon mentality, where people are so used to shopping online and being able to do something like right now, and like they want something, they order it, and it comes to their doorstep the next day.
And I think, isn't it, you get a discount if you get it the next day? Or there's something to where, like, if you get a quick order, then you can use your Prime to get a discount or something. But things happen.
People are bringing that into the home buying process, and they're skipping a lot of steps, and it's our job to educate. And there's so much, the process isn't a quick process. I mean, it can be, but there's some costs that are associated. There's some, how do we put it? There's some,
I would say.
Yeah, massaging of credit and DTI, and watching a market. So figuring out exactly where you want to live, what you are budgeted for, what your loan amount is, and then watching and finding, do I really want to live here? And then by the time they find a house that they really like, they have to go above and beyond what they can afford in multiple offers sometimes. So now we have to back up and slow down and have some of these conversations right now and say, hey, world, back up and slow down. I know interest rates are going up, but let's figure out exactly what you want and figure out the process a little bit more, right?
Yeah. And to say interest rates are going up, they're still on average relatively low. So
low still.
Yeah, they really are. And I can say, like, I don't think the rates that people are getting today, I don't think that they'll be able to refinance to a lower rate in the next 10 years. So that's kind of like a feather, like if you're not in the 2s and you're in the 3s, you're in a very good place still.
Good. Yeah.
And so I think people like maybe the end of last year were here October time and beginning of the year, everybody was kind of in that 2.8, 2.75 area. And people are still really wanting to be there. Rates have gone up, but I think that, like I said, if you're in the threes, you're still in a really good place, and you have a relatively low mortgage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so now say somebody calls you up and is like, "Hey, I want to buy a house." Mm-hmm. What is the very first conversation that you have with them?
Well, I talk about, your work history and needing to have 2 years work history. I ask if you have any savings, money of your own, because we do need to understand where, your money's going to come from, because there are closing costs, there is a down payment, there are upfront fees. So we want to know kind of where you are with any monies of your own. And then we talk about your credit, where you are with your credit, if you have an idea where you are. People that know where their credit is, whether it's high or low. Some people come to me with low credit, and it's like, okay, well, if they already know their credit's low, I'm not a type of lender that wants to get in there and pull credit if they have an idea of things that they can do to enhance their credit. So then I kind of put them on a plan prior to pulling credit, to pay some things down if they already have an understanding of what that looks like. But if someone kind of is like, my credit's in a good place, I have a little bit of savings, and I've been on my job for 2 years, we talk about what that looks like. Those are kind of the three things that are needed right away. Then we kind of move forward again into those upfront fees. No. I have this amount of money. I only want to spend this amount of money. As far as getting into a home, this is kind of where my hard stop is. And then I kind of go into, okay, well, you'll definitely need money, earnest money. You're going to need your appraisal money, and then an inspection. Now, nowadays, a lot of people are waiving that inspection if they can, but I never recommend that.
No, absolutely not. We are, just so you guys know, we are a buyer beware state, meaning the seller doesn't have to fix anything if it's wrong. So your knowledge of the home, and if anything were to be wrong with it, is on you, the buyer. So you want to do an inspection. You want to be able to make priorities. If something does need to be fixed, you can ask the seller to repair it. And so, yeah.
Or ask for, it's negotiating power. To understand where that home really lies. And I think a lot of people, what I've seen, they find that they say, I'm getting an inspection. They think the inspection and the appraisal are the same thing, that there's someone coming out to review the home, and the inspection is to make sure the home is sound, right? Mm-hmm. The appraisal is for the value of the home. So the appraisal appraises the value and the comparable homes in the area.
Mm-hmm. But to back up on the upfront costs, to just stay on topic, the very first cost you mentioned is possibly paying off some of your own debt. Mm-hmm. So to get yourself in a good position, right? Mm-hmm. Especially, and then you guys come to me as a buyer, and then what we do is we look at your budget and what you guys would pre-qualify for after you have massaged your credit and your debt to income ratio, and you're at what we call a good place to purchase a home. And then we unpack that, okay? Because the old adage, location, mm-hmm. that amount of money will get you something different in every neighborhood. Yep. So it's where do you want to live? How much money do you want to put into a place as far as fixing it up? How far is it away for your commute? Utilities, things like that. Schools, there's a lot to go into this like bubble of a house to consider. And then that takes time. So being able to back up and like really figure out what it is you want and what you are okay with compromising with as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So is this going to be your forever home? How long do you guys plan on staying there? That
Those
makes it.
are questions that I ask right away too, because I've heard someone say, every purchase is an investment, and it is. It's an investment of your time. If there's anything that needs to be done to the home and you add into the home, then you've invested into that, and you're able to hopefully recoup on that if you were to sell that home. But yeah, when you go to purchase, those are definitely things I think you need to think about. And I think that's one reason why people have tended to not purchase, because they don't know where they want to live and they do think it's a forever situation, or they don't. I have heard buyers say that I don't want to be trapped here, or, they feel like it's just so locked in, but it is a thing that you can think about in a 5-year, 10-year. Is it your forever home? Will you buy up in 2 years? Will you downsize in 10 years? Those types of questions are very important to ask yourself as a buyer.
Absolutely. Yeah. So now once you guys find a home, it's there's earnest money, which goes towards your down payment. And so it could be any amount. A lot of down payment programs say that you need a minimum of $1,000 invested. So you can put that $1,000 right into it right away.
Yep.
Just be done with it. And you might not even have to bring any money to closing if you get down payment assistance and closing costs covered and things like that. I've even seen sometimes where you get, money back at closing from your earnest money. Yeah. So that's kind of nice. The second one that I require, that I don't necessarily require, but I highly recommend, is getting an inspection. I have had only a handful of people that have foregone an inspection. And I, tell them up front that, this is your responsibility, buyer beware. I make them sign a million things that say get a home inspection before we even start looking at homes. So, and that can cost you anywhere from $300 to over $1,000, depending upon what you get done and how many things you do. But it's worth every penny, right?
Absolutely. I think so. And then next you would have the appraisal. And the appraisal is not a part of your earnest money. It used to be, I think last year I could tell people that were maybe getting down payment assistance or a gift or something like that. You're going to need about $2,500 to $3,000 right away. And that would cover, usually, depending on the amount of home that you were purchasing, because people used to be able to put down $1,500 as earnest money, or, and you still can, but that was a pretty decent amount of earnest money at one point, especially if you were kind of getting some assistance with your other costs. But yeah, so I used to, just kind of get those roundabout numbers. And I think now people kind of go with a percentage of the actual purchase for earnest money. Am I right there, Jen?
Yeah, I like to do 1%. I do think, though, if you have more money and you are really serious about it, I just tell them go all in. If you've got a hand and you really want it, just drop all the cards, go all in. So I've seen up to 3 to 5% down for earnest money.
And all of that comes out of, your closing costs. So there are several line items that I think we talked about it 2 weeks ago that make up your cash to close. And so your earnest money is a good faith kind of measure towards purchasing the home, and it shows the buyer that this person is extremely serious and they put this amount down, and all of that will come out of those different line items for your cash to close.
Yeah, but being able to do that, if you have savings, you watch it disappear before you even move into the home. And it can be very scary for someone, especially first-time home buyers, when they're writing a check for this and they're writing a check for that. And then they have the appraisal and it's like, wait a minute, my savings is completely gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're doing down payment assistance, that assistance might come on the back end towards closing costs, like you said. So,
yeah. And then you can kind of look a little further into like offers and conventional offers versus an FHA offer, and reasons why people tend to like one or the other with the amendatory clauses and things like that, and being able to get your earnest money back if things didn't, work out. So those are more in depth, I think, topics. But overall, I think sticking back to the point, your upfront costs consist of the earnest money, the appraisal, and then your inspection fees. And all of that is paid kind of right at the top of the process within the first week, usually.
Yeah, and it could be really scary if you've never written those kind of checks before.
Definitely. I think that's where the piece of preparing and kind of having those conversations ahead of time and understanding kind of where you're going to be at with spending money within the first week, and then what you don't spend anything else until you actually close. But those types of conversations are really good to have. Most first-time home buyers have no idea. So.
And you don't want to get in a position where you find out you have to pay something off midway through a loan either. So you want to make sure that we are having conversations with our loan officers long before we start looking at homes. Like I said, to start getting in a good position, because some of those costs that you might have to pay at the closing table, you might have to write a check. And the reason why we do it is you might have to write it at the closing table, like to certain people, and it could be included in your closing costs. But we can talk about that another day. So it's important that if we need to do this, that we have room in our conversations in the very, very beginning, when they're most important, and you're starting to develop these ideas and these like muscle memories around what it's like to buy a house, because you don't drive a car the first time you get it, right?
Yeah. And like you said, there's ways to structure loans based on how the credit report comes in. But if you're able to kind of have those conversations when you're pre-approving, then that's more important. And a lot of times I would opt to have somebody just for sourcing documents and ease of process, pay things off at closing, outside of customers have so much to prepare for and to provide as far as documents go. Sometimes it's easier to kind of wrap things up in closing. But again, that's another conversation.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's wrap things up today before we start going down different rabbit holes. We'll see you next week. You guys, I don't remember what I'm doing on Monday. I have to look. So I'm not going to. I have, excuse me, a serious lack of coffee, but I also have to be somewhere at 10 o'clock. I need to print some stuff out. There's a listing going live today, and I wrote the wrong garage number on there. I wrote 2, and it's only a 1-car garage. So now I have to quick reprint and drop this stuff off by 10.
Oh.
So adios, you guys.
All right. Thank you, guys.